Assalamu alaikum, dear students. It's me, Ma'am Noshin Zia, presenting the new topic, that is the Lewis concept of acid and bases. Um, in the last videos, we have already discussed the two concepts of acids and bases, that was Arrhenius concept and Laurie-Bronsted concept. And I hope all the points of these two concepts will be clear to you. Now today the third classification of acid and bases was introduced by the scientist G. N. Lewis. So today we will discuss the Lewis concept of acid and bases, that how some compounds they can be classified into acid and bases if they do not contain the hydrogen or hydroxyl. So according to G. N. Lewis, in 1923 he introduced a broader concept of acid and bases. Why it is called the broader concept? Because according to Arrhenius, if the chemical compound contain hydrogen or hydroxyl ions, then we can classify these compounds on the basis of hydrogen and hydroxyl ions into acid and bases. And Bronsted and Laurie concept is actually depending upon the proton donor and proton acceptor. Now, why the Lewis concept is broader? The Lewis concept is a broader concept because if a compound, for example, aluminium chloride, that is AlCl3, if you can observe that in aluminium chloride there is no hydrogen ion, no proton, no hydroxyl ion. So how can we classify aluminium chloride, boron trifluoride, water, these compounds into acids or bases? So there were some compounds which cannot be classified on the basis of Arrhenius and Bronsted-Laurie concept. So in 1923, the G. N. Lewis he introduced a new and a broader concept of acid and bases. Now, according to this concept, we can define the Lewis acid and base, that which compounds or which species act as the Lewis acid and which species act as the Lewis base. So according to Lewis, all those species that can accept or tend to accept a pair of electron, they are known as the Lewis acids. And all those species that can donate or tend to donate a pair of electrons, then they act as the Lewis bases. Now, what is the pair of electrons? In class 9th, in chapter 4, you have studied the structure of molecule when we were studying the covalent bonding. So in the covalent bonding, we have studied the Lewis dot and cross structure. So in that Lewis cross and dot structure, when we show the Lewis dot and cross structure in a compound, then the lone pair of electrons they can also be observed on any chemical compound. In the further slides you will observe the lone pair of electrons, but depending upon the definition, according to this definition, the acids are all those compounds which can accept the pair of electron. Remember that only one pair of electron will be involved, no 2 or 3 or 4 pair of electron. It means only one pair of electron. Okay, so the compounds that can accept the pair of electron, they act as the Lewis acids. And all those compounds, all those species, compounds or species that can donate a pair of electrons, they act as the Lewis bases. It is the proper definition. Okay, now you can observe the Lewis, we can say the electrons on in a compound, that is aluminium chloride. In this aluminium chloride, in the center the aluminium is present. Aluminium belongs to group 3, so it is having 3 electrons in the valence shell, and 3 chlorine atoms are attached with 1 aluminium. Chlorine is a member of group 7, so chlorine is having 7 electrons in the valence shell, which can be seen in the they are in the blue color, and the aluminium electrons are in red color. So 3 chlorine atoms when combined with 1 aluminium atom, then due to the sharing of electron, the aluminium chloride is formed. But you can observe that in this compound, the aluminium is still deficient of 2 electrons. If you count the number of electrons, then aluminium is having the 6 electrons, right? So aluminium is deficient of the 2 electrons. So this is actually the example of the compound which is deficient of lone pair of electron, right? So we can say that all those compounds which are having less than 8 electrons in their valence shell, for example aluminium chloride, they act as the Lewis acids, because now aluminium needs 2 electron. It requires 2 electron to complete its octet. Now how it will become stable? When it gain 2 electrons from another species. So remember that this Lewis concept, relate this Lewis concept with the coordinate covalent bond, which you have already studied in the class 9th, in which in coordinate covalent bond, in the one atom donates the lone pair of electron to another atom, and this lone pair of electron is actually shared between the two species, not the completely donation. Okay. Achha. Now you can see that aluminium chloride, in aluminium chloride, aluminium is deficient of 2 electrons, so it can accept the lone pair of electron, so it will act as the Lewis acid. And you can also see that in the definition or in the example it is written that the positively charged ions, they also act as the Lewis acids. For example, H plus ion. Now what is the difference between hydrogen atom and hydrogen ion? Hydrogen atom is having 1 electron in the valence shell, but when hydrogen atom loses 1 electron, then it becomes hydrogen ion. So H plus ion mean it is having no electron. इसके पास एक electron भी नहीं है. H plus mean 0 electrons, right? So hydrogen, how it becomes stable? When it follow the duplet rule. So when hydrogen accept 2 electron from any other species, then it means that it is accepting the lone pair of electron. Then it means that it is the Lewis acid. So these are the examples of the Lewis acids, that all those compounds which are deficient of 2 electrons, they act as the Lewis acids, and the positively charged ions, they also act as the Lewis acids. Okay, now we discuss the example of the Lewis bases, right? In this structure you can see the 2 hydrogen atoms are attached with 1 oxygen atom. Oxygen is having 6 electrons in the valence shell, and each hydrogen is having 1 electron in the valence shell. So in this structure, you can see the covalent bond between oxygen and hydrogen. But you can also observe that in oxygen, the 2 lone pair of electrons are present, जो आपको dots black डॉट दिखाई दे रहे हैं, ठीक है, ये एक्चुअली क्या हैं, ये आपके पास पेयर ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हैं, राइट. बट रिमेंबर दैट pair of electron, only one pair of electron will be donated, right. So in this case, in case of water, the two lone pair of electrons are present. So in these two lone pair of electron, it can donate one pair of electron to another species which is deficient of electron pair. So we can say that in water, the oxygen is the lone pair donor. So water act as a Lewis base because all those species which can donate the lone pair of electron, they act as the Lewis bases. So water, it is having the lone pair of electron, and you can observe that oxygen atom having following the octet rule, right. Its outermost shell is complete, and all those negatively charged ions, for example halogens when gain one electron, they become the halide ions. For example, fluorine when gain one electron, it become F minus, that is fluoride ion. Chlorine atom when gain one electron, it become chloride ion. So these fluoride, chloride, these are actually called the halide ions, right. And these halide ions, they can donate the one lone pair of electron to any other species. So we can say that Lewis bases are actually the electron pair donor, right. Okay, now we discuss the reaction between the Lewis acid and Lewis base, that how the two species in which one is electron donor and second is electron pair acceptor, how they react with one another. This is actually totally you have it is actually the coordinate formation of the coordinate covalent bond which you have already studied in class 9th, right. Now in this reaction you can see that ammonia molecule, the formula of ammonia is NH3, and the Lewis dot and cross structure of ammonia can be seen, right. And nitrogen is having 5 electrons in the valence shell. Now nitrogen is making the covalent bond with the 3 hydrogen atoms and its octet is completed. It is following the octet rule. Each hydrogen, by sharing the electron, they complete their outermost shell with the 2 electrons. They following the duplet rule. But still you can see that in case of nitrogen, one lone pair of electron is present. Lone pair of electron you can observe. So when this ammonia molecule react with the hydrogen ion as I have told you, it is having no electron, 0 electron. So how it become stable? When it accept the 2 electrons from the ammonia, right. But एक्सेप्टेंस ऐसे नहीं है कि कम्प्लीटली नाइट्रोजन इसको डोनेट कर देगा फिर तो नाइट्रोजन के पास डेफिशिएंसी हो जाएगी. नो, एक्चुअली द नाइट्रोजन and hydrogen, they will share this lone pair of electron with one another, right. Okay, now at the end you can see the product which is formed, that is the ammonium ion. Now in ammonium ion you can observe that the coordinate covalent bond is actually represented by an arrow in which the lone pair of electron from nitrogen to hydrogen, right. So this coordinate covalent bond is actually the bond in which one species donate the lone pair of electron, which is actually the donor is actually called the Lewis base, and the lone pair of electron acceptor is called the Lewis acid. As a result, the formation of the complex compound will take place, that is ammonium ion. And ammonium ion representation is also given. You can see the square bracket, and on the square bracket the positive ion is given. This positive ion, why the positive ion comes? Because in this reaction the positive चार्ज स्पीशी इज इन्वॉल्व, दैट इज़ हाइड्रोजन आयन. अगर कोई भी चार्ज स्पीशी रिएक्टेंट साइड पर ना हो तो स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट के ऊपर कोई पॉजिटिव या नेगेटिव साइन नहीं आएगा. द कम्प्लेक्स कंपाउंड ओनली विल बी फॉर्म्ड, राइट. Okay, now we can see another example in which the water molecule is reacting with the hydrogen ion, and in water oxygen is the electron having the two lone pair of electrons, that is electron rich, so it means it is having the lone pair of electrons. But hydrogen is the electron deficient species, it is having no electron. So what will happen? The oxygen of the water, it can donate the lone pair of electron, only one. Okay, the lone pair mean akela, ek pair, it will be donated to the hydrogen atom, but donation will be in such a way that lone pair of electron, it will be shared between the two species. So as a result, the compound is formed that is called hydronium ion. H3O plus is actually called the hydronium ion. And again you can observe that the donor is oxygen and the acceptor is hydrogen. So it is represented with the help of an arrow on the product side. In the complex compound you can observe it, and the type of the bond is definitely the coordinate covalent bond, right. Again square bracket is having the positive sign because the charged species is involved in the reactant side, on the reactant side, right. So that is the formation of the hydronium ion. So water is Lewis, water is acting as a Lewis base, and hydrogen ion is acting as the Lewis acid. The third example, it is also given in your book, in which boron trifluoride BF3 is reacting with the ammonia NH3, and it is forming a complex compound, right. Now in these two compounds, boron trifluoride and ammonia, which one will be the electron pair donor? आप जब तक जो है इसका लिविस डॉट और क्रॉस स्ट्रक्चर जो है वो रिप्रेजेंट नहीं करेंगे, आपको कभी भी क्लियर नहीं होगा डैट विच वन इज़ इलेक्ट्रॉन डेफिशिएंट स्पीशी एंड विच वन इज़ द इलेक्ट्रॉन रिच स्पीशी, right. So when we draw the structure of boron trifluoride, boron is a member of group 3 having 3 electrons in the valence shell. So when the 3 fluorine atoms react with the boron, it is forming the covalent bond BF3. But again you can observe that boron, after sharing the electron with the fluorine, still it is deficient of 2 electrons. It is having 6 electrons in the valence shell, right. So it is electron deficient species. And in case of ammonia, ammonia is having the lone pair of electron. So when these two combine with one another, the nitrogen of the ammonia will donate the lone pair of electron to the boron, and again we can say that the complex compound is formed. So the boron trifluoride is Lewis acid and NH3 is the Lewis base. So now we summarize the 3 theories that classification of the acid and bases. It depends upon the 3 theories, that is Arrhenius theory, Prost and Lowry theory and Lewis theory. What is Arrhenius theory? Any substance which release hydrogen ion in the water, then it is called the acid. And all those substances which release hydroxyl ion in water, they act as the base. And according to Lowry-Bronsted concept, any substance which donate a proton, it is called the acid, and any substance which accept a proton, it is called the base. And Lewis theory, any substance which can accept pair of electron, it act as the Lewis acid. it acts as the acid. And all the substances which can donate electron pair, they act as the base, right? So I hope all the points will be clear to you. ठीक है, आप अपनी book reading must करें, watch the video at least 2 to 3 times. If you have any question, any query, then you can send your question to the chat box, right? And must read the topic in your book, right? Okay girls, thank you so much for your participation. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.